Have you ever been part of a project that just seems to drag on forever? You see people working, you see progress, but that finish line just keeps moving further and further away. So what's really going on? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on project schedules and find out why they really run late. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? The crew is on site, the blueprints are out, but everything just stops. It's so frustrating, and you're left wondering, is there some secret I'm missing here? Well, the truth is, there is a secret. The problem isn't the work you can see. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The real danger, the part that actually sinks your timeline, is all the stuff lurking right beneath the surface. And that stuff has a name: non-construction activities. This is all the work that happens off-site. It's the permits, the purchase orders, the paperwork, the approvals. And because the costs for this stuff are usually buried in overhead, they don't show up on the schedule. They're basically invisible. Until one of them is late, and then bam, the whole project grinds to a halt. Okay, so let's start at the very, very beginning. You'd think a project kicks off when you get the official notice to proceed, right? Wrong. So much critical work has to happen long before anyone gets that green light. Here's the thing about these early steps. A lot of them aren't even the contractor's job. The owner might be the one getting the building permit or buying the land. But by putting these tasks on the schedule from day one, the contractor gets visibility. They can see what's happening and flag a potential delay before it becomes a real problem. And of course, you can't build anything without a team. That's where subcontractor buyout comes into play. It's basically the race to hire all your specialized crews. And you guessed it, it's another one of those invisible steps with a very, very real deadline. To figure out that deadline, planners have to think in reverse. They start with the date the subcontractor absolutely has to be on site. Then they work backward, subtract the time it takes to get materials, and before that, the time for getting detailed plans approved. Whatever date is left, that is the last possible moment to sign that contract. If you miss it, you're already behind. All right, next up, let's talk about the one thing that can stop a billion-dollar project dead in its tracks: paperwork. And I'm not just talking about filling out a few forms. I'm talking about navigating a super complex and often painfully slow pipeline of approvals. Welcome to the permit maze. You need a separate piece of paper for everything, from grading the land to finally letting people inside. And here's the kicker: the rules are different everywhere. In one city, you can start digging while you wait for the building permit. In the city next door, no way. If you don't schedule every single one of these permits, a delay in one can cause a massive domino effect down the line. But it's not just about getting permits. Sometimes different agencies just need to be notified that you're doing something. It sounds minor, but forgetting to send that email can have huge consequences. And I mean huge. For example, you forget to tell the FAA you're putting a crane up near an airport, they can issue an immediate work stoppage. The whole site shut down. Or what if you don't get the fire marshal to sign off on your emergency access plan? Well, you can't move on to the next phase until they do. These aren't suggestions, they're hard stops that have to be planned for. Now let's talk about a classic project bottleneck: shop drawings. These are the hyper-detailed plans that fabricators use to actually build things, like the steel frame or the custom windows. And getting them approved, well, it's a whole journey. Seriously, look at this. First, the subcontractor has to prepare the drawing. Then they submit it. Then the design team has a set amount of time to review it. And almost always, there are revisions. So it gets sent back, and you might have to go through that whole loop a second or even a third time. Every one of these steps has to be tracked in the schedule. Speaking of that final approval, that brings us to our next big chunk of invisible work: procurement. Because once a shop drawing is finally approved, a whole new clock starts ticking on actually getting the materials delivered to the site. So let's imagine you're ordering a big emergency generator. In a perfect world, it gets approved in week 1, takes about 8 weeks to build, 4 weeks to ship, and it's ready to install by week 14. Looks pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Yeah, but we don't live in a perfect world. What happens if the factory has a huge backlog and fabrication actually takes 12 weeks instead of 8? That single 4-week delay doesn't just push back the generator installation. It can push back the entire project completion date by 4 weeks or even more. Okay, you've navigated the permits, you've survived the paperwork, you finally have all your materials. You are so close to the finish line. But guess what? The unseen schedule has a few more surprises in store for you, right at the very end. These are what we call closeout activities. It's all the testing of the building systems, commissioning the elevators, training the new owners, and handing over all the manuals. It's so easy to dismiss this stuff as just wrapping things up, but make no mistake, these tasks are often on the critical path to actually finishing the job and, getting paid. And get this, in the last 5% of a project's timeline, it's often these non-construction tasks that make up the entire critical path. The testing, the training, the final paperwork. If you underestimate how long these take, you can get stuck at 99% complete for weeks. So let's wrap this all up. We started with this idea of a project stalling for reasons you couldn't see. And the key, as we've learned, is to stop just looking at the construction work. You have to see the whole iceberg. I love how our source material puts this. It says a schedule that only includes construction activities is fundamentally incomplete. Think about that. If your plan is just a list of things to build, it's not a real schedule. It's a wish list. And that's the real takeaway here. When you build a complete schedule, one that tracks everything from the first permit application to the final owner training session, you give yourself the power of visibility. You can see problems coming, you can reduce your risk, and you give yourself the best possible shot at actually finishing on time. So the next time you're looking at a project plan, ask yourself that question. What's hiding below the surface? Because finding the answer might just be the thing that keeps your project afloat. Thanks so much for tuning in.